How could the mightiest empire in history collapse so suddenly, vanishing overnight into chaos?
Let's move on to the video, for the sake of time.
Rome was once the greatest empire on earth, stretching from Britain to Egypt. But could all that power, all that glory truly vanish in a single night? Or was the fall of Rome a far slower death? For centuries, Roman citizens lived in confidence. Markets thrived, aqueducts flowed, and legions conquered. Yet beneath the surface, corruption spread, enemies grew stronger, and the empire's foundation began to crumble. Rome's downfall was already unfolding, unseen by many. Civil wars tore Rome apart, brothers fighting brothers for power. Emperors rose and fell like shadows. The empire's strength was not destroyed in one night, but slowly drained over generations, leaving its people vulnerable to chaos and despair. To a farmer in Gaul, Rome disappeared when barbarian raiders burned his land. To a family in Britain, it ended when the legions marched away and never returned. The fall of Rome was not one night, but many. Plagues devastated the empire, killing thousands, emptying cities and leaving entire provinces abandoned. Rome's mighty population withered. For those who survived, the sudden silence must have felt like the world itself had collapsed overnight, leaving ruins where greatness once stood. At the borders, barbarian tribes grew bold. The Goths, Vandals, and Huns poured into Roman lands. To citizens in those provinces, Rome's protection vanished instantly, as if the empire itself had disappeared in a single terrifying moment. The city of Rome, once a shining jewel of over 1 million souls, became a ghost of its past. Crumbling aqueducts, broken streets, and hungry citizens painted a picture of a city long abandoned by its empire. In 476 AD, Romulus Augustulus, the last Western Roman emperor, was stripped of his crown by Odoacer. To many, that moment marked Rome's end. Yet by then, Rome had already been dying for centuries in silence. Was this the night Rome truly vanished, or just a final symbol of a death that had already happened? To its people, the crown falling may have felt like the empire collapsing instantly, yet the decline was centuries long. Even after the West collapsed, the Eastern Roman Empire, known as Byzantium, survived for another 1,000 years. From Constantinople, emperors still called themselves Roman. For them, Rome never fell but lived on as a shining flame in the East. Rome's story is not one of sudden disappearance, but of transformation. Though the empire fractured, its influence spread through laws, languages, architecture, and even the very idea of empire itself. Rome's ashes became the foundation for Europe's rebirth. When Charlemagne was crowned, he claimed the title of Roman Emperor. Centuries later, Napoleon and Mussolini dreamed of restoring Rome. Rome had vanished as an empire, but its spirit haunted every leader who dreamed of power and conquest. For the people of the 5th century, however, none of this mattered. Their lives were filled with fear, raiders at the gates, famine in the fields, and the crushing sense that the eternal city was no more. The collapse of Rome felt sudden, like a candle snuffed out in the dark. Yet in truth, that flame had been flickering for centuries. Rome's fall was both slow erosion and sudden catastrophe at the same time. The eagle standards that once led armies across continents now lay in the dirt. Statues of emperors toppled, aqueducts crumbled, and 1 million voices fell silent. Rome's grandeur seemed to vanish, leaving only ruins and shadows. Civilizations rise and fall. Rome teaches us that even the greatest powers can collapse, not just in centuries of decline, but in nights of terror that feel like the end of the world itself. The fall of Rome was not a single event. It was a series of losses, betrayals, and invasions that stripped the empire of its strength. To some, it was slow decay. To others, an overnight collapse. Imagine walking through the ruins of the Forum, broken marble at your feet, silence where crowds once cheered. To those who lived through it, Rome's end was not history. It was the terrifying reality of their lives. The Western Roman Empire vanished, but Rome itself never truly died. Its culture, laws, and memory endured, shaping kingdoms and empires for centuries. Rome's body was gone, but its spirit still walked among future generations. Rome's fall asks us a question. If the mightiest empire could collapse, what about ours today? Will our civilizations fade slowly or vanish overnight, leaving only ruins and whispers of power that once was?